always, from the heart of the city, and now on demand 24/7 on the CHFI website. This is the soundtrack to accompany a sometimes tedious job, Raking Leaves. And I'm Don Jackson, around the world on the internet. Stanley Kunitz wrote, "Unless the leaves perish, the tree is not renewed." And this thought from Cyril Connolly in The Unquiet Grave. Fallen leaves lying on the grass in the November sun bring more happiness than the daffodils. That could be true until you have to rake them up and bag them for pickup. This hour, a soundtrack to accompany the fallen leaves with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Michael Buble, Coming Back Home, and Rod Stewart with These Foolish Things. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com for the 5th of November, 2009. I recently pulled my back while doing yard work in preparation for winter. This was back in late October. It took me a little over a week to fully recover. It was painful and slow getting up and around during that time. But even though I'm still a little stiff, the work around the house at this time of the year needs to get done. Now, I've been careful to take it easy, but something inspired me to be foolish the other day. I raked a pile of leaves and did something I've not done in what seems like years. I jumped into the pile I made after I made sure that I was unobserved. Then I laughed and jumped again, not caring who might be watching. My back survived my moment of foolishness, but I think the risk was well worth it. It made an otherwise mundane job enjoyable, and it reminded me how easy it seemed in my youth. When was the last time you jumped into a pile of leaves? Lovers and Other Strangers from CHFI.com. Daniel Powter, Kicking Up Leaves at the End of a Bad Day, and Michael Jackson, and This Is It. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. There's a great line in an old Neil Diamond song, something to the effect, "The leaves are falling." I guess they didn't have much more to say. Many centuries ago, Han Wu-Ti wrote, "The sound of her silk skirt has stopped. On the marble pavement, dust grows. Her empty room is cold and still. Fallen leaves are piled against the door. Longing for that lovely lady. How can I bring my aching heart to rest?" Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Anna Nalick and Breathe, 2 a.m. The Beatles with The Things We Said Today, and Matchbox 20, If You're Gone. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. One of my jobs, besides raking the fallen leaves and jumping into the piles I made, was to try to clear out the leaves collecting in the cover of the swimming pool. Our linden tree is nearby, and all its leaves seem to be collecting there. The pool cover is once again acting like a magnet. I also took the opportunity to bail out the rainwater that's been collecting in the cover. and soaked myself in the process. I seem to really want to get into my work at this time of the year. This are autumn leaves that pile up on the ground in sheltered areas away from the wind. Others on the wind, passing by. And still others holding on for dear life. That last leaf on the living tree sometimes seems to have such a firm hold. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. The Manhattans and Kiss and Say Goodbye, and Genesis and Hold On My Heart. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote, "And if I should live to be the last leaf upon the tree in the spring, let them smile, as I do now, at the old forsaken bough where I cling." Some of these leaves can hang on right into the early winter. Some of the really tenacious ones may still be there when the first buds of the next generation appear in the spring. There's one on a lofty branch of our purple ash that seems so alone right now. What would want to make them cling to the bare branch and brave the elements for so long? What would make any of us stay longer than is necessary? Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Kelly Rowland with Unity, the Cowboy Junkies featuring Bruce Hornsby on piano and Rockin' Bird, and Dido's White Flag. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. This hour, some thoughts inspired by the simple act of raking leaves. Philip K. Howard, and quoted in the Points to Ponder column of the October 1995 issue of the Reader's Digest, said, and I quote, "Smart people spend time alone. They don't fill their days with appointments from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., as many politicians and executives do. Great science does not emerge from hard logic and grinding hours. It comes from the mysterious resources of the human brain and soul. Inspiration is nurtured by activities like raking leaves and chopping wood, preparing dinner, and reading to the kids. These activities soften the rigid pace of the day's pursuits and allow all our God-given intuition to work its unlogical magic. Only then can we reach our fullest potential. Only then can we leap from thinking to understanding. The words of Philip K. Howard. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.